Well, good morning, builders. It is your favorite people development manager, Mernice, affectionately known as Mo. You already know who I am, but we're excited and thank you for joining us today for our listen and learn on cybersecurity and fraud. Hey guys, this is such an important topic because protecting ourselves and protecting builders starts with awareness. And so every click, every login, every email we open either strengthens our defenses against what puts us at risk. And so over the next 30, 40 minutes or so, we're going to do a deep dive into the real world of, scams and practical steps to help us stay safe and ways we can all be a little bit smarter on spotting some red flags. I was just sharing with the panel this morning. I got a nice little a note in the mail from TransUnion that my information was part of the data breach from several weeks ago. And so this couldn't be, such a great in due time and in due season conversation that certainly needs to be had. The good thing was that I do have all of my credit reports frozen, but it's still very scary that my information is out there floating around for someone to do with what they will. So I'm going to ask you to lean in right now, turn off your cell phone, mute your cell phone for a moment, participate, and, walk away with some tools that we can use immediately to protect both our work and our personal lives. So let's get started. And with that being said, it is my honor to introduce our representatives from McLennan and Marsh, Mark Manderson. I'm going to throw it over to Mark, and he is going to share a little bit about him and what he does here in his team, and then he will bring up our speaker of the day. All right, thanks, builders, for being here.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Mo. Good morning, everyone. Thank you again for joining this session. Exactly to Mo's point, this could not be a more timely topic. It's definitely one of those things that we really need to focus in on all things financial related, protecting the house a little bit away from frauds and scams and things like that. Quick introduction of myself and then my colleague. So Mark Manderson and Lindsay Lockery from MMA, you can think of us as, we are the advisors to your 401k plan. We were brought on board earlier this year. It's been an absolute pleasure working with your leadership team, and we are the advisors to the company, and we're also the advisors to each of you. Some of you may have spoken with me in the past. Lindsay, would you mind coming off mute for just a second and introducing yourself as well? Lindsay is our resident expert on all things employee education when it comes to the financial wellness type of topic. So Lindsay, would you mind introducing yourself?
Sure, happy to. Lindsay Lockery with Marsh McLennan. Thrilled to be here. Excited to hear this topic. It's so timely. But if you have questions about your general 401k plan, changing rates, any of those type of things, please reach out to myself, Mark as well. But I'm your girl to help with that. So excited to be here and appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, Lindsay. Yeah, Lindsay is jet setting today. She is at the airport right now, heading to go do employee education meetings for another client of ours. So the topic here today is financial fraud, scams, all of those types of things. The way we view this, how this fits into the 401k type of discussion. If you remember your open enrollment health insurance meetings that we had a few weeks ago, I spoke on that session as well. And we spoke to healthcare costs in retirement. That's a variable in the equation that we need to think about. That's an uncontrollable. Any one of us could have, we could get hit by a bus tomorrow or something like that. Who knows what's going to go on? But another one of those variables that is becoming an increasing area of importance is cybersecurity. So I pulled a couple stats this morning. According to the Federal Trade Commission, in 2024, Americans lost $12.5 billion to financial fraud. That was a 25% increase over 2024. So not only is this a big issue, but it's becoming an even bigger issue. And unfortunately, the bad actors out there, where there's money, they will continue to evolve, and it's going to get more complex. And we all see the news around ChatGPT and AI and all this stuff. So it's an ever increasing area of complexity. So when the Builders leadership team asked us to organize some education on this topic, we decided to bring in Empower Retirement, which just a quick clarification. Your 401k plan is run upon the Vanguard platform. So Empower is not your platform. You can't log into Empower. But in our opinion, their team does a phenomenal job communicating on this particular topic. So we brought in these outside experts. So today you're going to hear from Trish McGinnity, who is the head of cybersecurity communication at Empower. I've heard her speak at conferences in the past. Could not give her enough kudos. She's absolutely awesome on speaking on this topic. So with that, one other housekeeping item real quick. Sorry, I should have mentioned this in the front end. Tomorrow morning, I will be in the builder's office in Atlanta. From 10 o'clock a.m. to 12 o'clock, we have sort of open sessions for general 401k education. If you just want to come in and introduce yourself, quick question, how am I doing? What else, anything along the, trouble accessing your 401k, we're happy to come in and help out. So we'll be in the office tomorrow. And if those time slots are already filled, you're always welcome to reach out to us on a one-off basis. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Trish, and hope everyone gets some good little tidbits from this session. So Trish, all yours.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Mark. Thank you so much, Mo, for hosting as well. Hello, I'm Trish McGinnity. I'm the head of our cybersecurity communications. A little bit about me, I've been very passionate about cybersecurity for over 20 years, and I joke that makes me a professional paranoid geek. But staying ahead of cyber criminals is really all I've done my whole career. And yeah, cybersecurity continues to be a really timely topic in the news with some of the scams. Mo mentioned some of the breaches, misinformation, our identities are at risk, and it's really important that we protect and safeguard all our accounts. Because your average checking account, it has about a $3,000 balance. The average 401k has about $100,000. So unfortunately, the retirement industry has become so much more of a focus area for cyber criminals. It's really important that we do everything that we can to protect our data, our identities, and our assets. So let's jump in and talk about what we need to do to protect our accounts. So here's the agenda and the key takeaways that we're going to have. So we're going to talk about recent trends in cybersecurity and AI, artificial intelligence, some account security myths and tips, a security guarantee, that's what protects your account and resources, how to register and protect your account. So a little bit, a record keeper. So Empower is a platform for retirement plans, the same role as Vanguard. And so all record keepers pretty much have the security guarantee. So for a checking account, you have the FDIC insurance to help, in the event that there's something happening with that financial institution. With your retirement accounts, you have a security guarantee. Some record keepers, as what we call ourselves, they call it a client protection guarantee or something like that. But so it's really important. That's what protects accounts in the event of fraud. So just a high-level overview of what that is. So let's start recent trends in cybersecurity. And yes, please jump in, ask questions. I think we're going to try to use the chat for the most part. Feel free to jump in, ask questions along the way. We want this to be interactive. We want this to be for you. October's coming up, National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So it's really appropriate timing. So a lot of criminals, right? They basically cybercrime. They wake up every day trying to defraud us as individuals. So let's learn what we can do to protect ourselves against what these criminals are trying to do. So basically, this year, so the estimated cost of cybercrime is 10.5 trillion US dollars. Their projections as high as $23 trillion by 2027. But if measured as a country, that would make cybercrime the world's third largest economy after the US and China. So cybercrime is a $1 trillion industry. And back in the day, if you all remember, there was a famous bank robber. His name was Willie Sutton. And they asked him, "Why do you rob banks?" And he said, "Because that's where the money is." So unfortunately, with retirement accounts, there's more money in there for bad actors to try to go after. So it's really, really important that we do everything that we can to protect those assets as well. So just to get everyone started off with a polling question. Oh gosh, there it goes. Okay. How long does it take an average hacker with artificial intelligence to crack a complex password with 8 characters? So feel free to jump in and put that in the chat. Let me open the chat up. So a lot of people thinks it's A. Here we go. A. Who thinks it's A? Under an hour. Anyone going for B? Under about 7 hours? Anyone going for C? 24 hours? Yes, I like to see a C in there. Anyone D? About 2 to 3 days. Oh, I do see a D. Okay, good. We have the whole gamut going here. So yeah, we're going to give it a moment more. Lots of good responses here. So we're going to go ahead and go to the answer here. So I know this is a bit of a big slide, right? But basically it's super simple. It goes number of characters on the left, then super simple, numbers only, then lowercase, then we add upper and lowercase, getting more and more complex as we move to the right of this slide. So whoever answered A and B are actually correct, depending on if you use a symbol. So an 8-character password with numbers and upper and lowercase letters, but without a symbol, can be cracked in 48 minutes. With the symbol, it'll take 7 hours. So NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, they have their guidelines say that we should really have a longer password these days when designing your password. So especially for, I'm going to keep talking about 3 primary types of accounts to really make sure you're not reusing your passwords, make sure you're having long passwords that are unique and complex. It is all your financial accounts, your email, and your cell phone, right? Those are the 3 that I would be the most concerned about not reusing your passwords, having a long, complex password. So I love 1Password. I love password managers. I love the idea of them. If you're not using a password manager today, it's one of the top ways that you can prevent identity theft is by not reusing your passwords. We're going to talk about why. But basically, for my email, my financial accounts, my cell phone, I'm going to try to choose a password that's at least 12 to 16 characters, and I don't want to remember all those. So a password manager, there's free ones out there that are really great as well that you can use. If you're only using Apple devices, you can use Apple, but I have a work PC, I have Apple devices, so I'm still going to use a commercial password manager. So yes, this is being recorded. I do have folks when I give this presentation take photos of this, but with AI, it can be used for good or bad. So what the tool that they are using to crack passwords here is called Passgan, Passgan. Anyone can use it, unfortunately, and so it can be used to crack passwords faster. So make sure you have really long passwords. So let's go to the next slide. So who's been exposed by breaches in the recent years? Nearly every American, right? Here's some recent stats from Google. I should put TransUnion, there it goes. In July, that's what Mo just mentioned. Google got compromised from Salesforce. The second item here, 16 billion passwords exposed in large data breaches. Last year we had Moab, Motherval breaches. So people think it's a great idea to assimilate like all these breached usernames and passwords into a main database. But then what happens? That has a breach. So all of our information has been basically breached over and over and over. Some folks estimate that it's, each individual has been breached maybe 10 times. At least. And so there's a website, and I'll put it all in the chat here too. But to see if your email has been involved in a breach, and you basically, it's called Have I Been Pwned by Troy Hunt. And he is a Microsoft researcher. He creates this website. So like on our website, like when you go to register your account, if it's been involved in a breach, it's going to say, no, you can't use this password. Please use a different password. This one has been involved in a breach. So we work with Have I Been Pwned. There's a funky spelling for it. So I'll make sure to include that in the chat here, but it's a way to check to see if any of your passwords have been involved in a breach. So there's that TransUnion one. Unfortunately, Dell, I don't even want to think about what's going to go on with 23andMe, right? That's for sale to anyone that wants to buy that. So really, really important to use a password manager. The best commercial password manager, CNET, by the way, cnet.com does a great write up on password manager, cnet.com, and then you just Google that and password manager. And then they have a great write-up on some of the best password managers, like Bitwarden is the best free one. I love 1Password. 1Password meaning I just remember 1Password for the rest of my life. All the rest are auto-generated and unique from each other. So a little bit there. So what happens when TransUnion has a breach, right? And everyone, right? I think everyone here probably has a TransUnion account. Hopefully it's locked down. So I just go to my password manager and I just change my TransUnion password. I just update it. And so that's what they say. They say, don't change your passwords unless there's been a breach of that company that you do business with. So.
Hey, Trish,
okay.
quick.
I see that from Eric. Go ahead.
Yeah, a similar question as well. It's kind of on Eric's question there in the chat. So say they go to that website, they see their information has their password is out there somewhere. What action would you recommend the group kind of taking from that? Go out and update every password possible, anything that's linked to a bank account or a 401k or anything. What do you think would be their best sort of action to take?
As soon as you get that notification in the mail that someone's lost your information, I would just go and, like AT&T, unfortunately, they had it, and I use AT&T. I just go to my password manager and I just change my password, right? Because then that way no one can go to the dark web and go buy my username and password combination and then try to get into my AT&T account, right? They're not going to be able to get in. And that's why pass keys are becoming more popular as well. They're adding an additional layer so you can get in there. So you can add that additional layer of basically safeguarding your account from a bad actor, right? Using multi-factor authentication is key, especially on your emails, your financial accounts, and your cell phone. You want that MFA. And now we're going more to passkeys. You're going to hear password lists coming up as well. And Empower is going to be going there, allowing the option to have additional authenticators, like, you know, how you could use like Google or Facebook in the past. I think folks might be going away from Facebook a little bit just because they've had breaches as well. And there's some, I don't know, Facebook can be a place where folks go to try to take advantage of people. I don't know, you saw the Brad Pitt example for fraud, but someone's pretending to be Brad Pitt on, you know, Facebook. Anyway, I'm sure there's a lot of that out there in social media in general.
If you have to pretend to be someone, that's
right. I'm gonna be Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt. Yeah.
Okay, Eric, so here's my problem with password managers. If you forget the password to your password manager, you are in serious trouble. That is correct. So what you're supposed to do is you are supposed to print out what that main secret is, main password, they call it a secret, and you bury it someplace in your house, right? Hopefully you remember where you bury it. There's also the idea of a digital will coming out, and basically because everyone has their online accounts now. So if you have a will, maybe talk with them and ask about a digital will. And so sometimes basically you could give that secret to an attorney that you hold in confidence, but very important not to give your passwords to, your family, your friends. I have 2 different vaults in my password manager, one for all my information, my checking account, my savings account, my 401k. And then I have a different one that I allow my family members to use for like the Netflix password, things that I don't care about. So with one password, you can do that. I'm sure that Bitwarden is the same way. But yes, you would have to reset all your passwords with password managers, but it's so much safer than you trying to remember one password for all of your accounts. Or what my 80-year-old mom did is basically keep them all in a spreadsheet, and they're all 4 characters long, right? And as we just saw with that polling question, they can be instantly hacked. So I'd rather use a password manager as opposed to reusing passwords. It's safer to do that. So just make sure you print out the secret, bury it someplace that only you know where that is. So those are some of the ideas on the password manager. But that's a good comment, Eric. So thanks for that. Okay, so AI and other scams to watch out for. We have the celebrity scams, right? That's not Taylor Swift really trying to sell that kind of product, or the coworker scam. Unfortunately, down here bottom right, this finance worker paid out $25 million after a video call with his CFO. Not only was it a video call with his CFO, it was a room full of deep fakes, which is that blew my mind. Imagine this, right? If Mark and Mo were telling me to send, this $25 million, and it was their likeness, it was their deep fake. It wasn't them, but they were basically as their likeness. What would I do? If there's any sense of urgency, any change to your financial accounts, always pick up the phone, call a known good number, right? If anyone's pressuring you to do something that you didn't instigate or start, let's pause, go talk to a known good trusted person, go for a walk, disengage. Nothing should be that urgent. So really important. Microsoft said with the 3-second clip of your voice, you could simulate your voice so that your friends and family couldn't tell the difference. I would limit your voice as my password out there. I know Apple or Android probably have your biometrics. I would just limit the amount of people that have access to your biometrics, including your voice, your face, your fingerprints, etc. So just try to limit that. And then the family scams. The more I do the presentation, people tell me, oh, okay, I got a phone call at 2:00 in the morning. They said that my son was involved in an accident. It wasn't his fault, but I need to pay, $500 to get him out of jail. So what do? I create a family safe word or phrase. Sure, I'll pay you the $500. What is the safe word? Oh, it's green apples, or whatever it is that your family decides that the safe word is going to be. Because more and more, the ability of deep fakes, unfortunately, I think can be out there. So creating a safe word or phrase is something. I don't know if this poor finance worker could have created a safe word with the authentic CFO, but maybe just picking up the phone being like, is this, there's a change in the financial account and there's a sense of urgency. Always just pick up the phone to verify with the known good sender, the known good address. Cryptocurrency scams. I think, the idea of a distributed ledger is a fascinating one. Cryptocurrency, outside of maybe having crypto in investments, I don't even know if I'd invest there, but I'm a paranoid geek. Until it has the security controls, I'm not going to be involved in crypto. Like, unfortunately, like if the authentic participant, maybe like individual, maybe wants to take out $25,000 from their 401k and invest in crypto, that could be legitimate crypto, or it could be a scam. So I don't think that crypto really has the safeguards today that it would take, for me to trust it at this point. If you are an expert in crypto and you love it, that's great. But I don't have the time right now or resources to be a crypto expert. So I would just be cautious anytime someone is trying to tell you that, the crypto, this is the great way to go, and look at all these other people making gains. And a lot of times you won't be able to get that money back out. AI is used in romance scams. Fraudsters can use AI to interact with their victims, and they can speak different kinds of languages. Our chief of our technology innovation lab, he made this insane video basically using a text script to create his likeness. And that likeness, it speaks all different kinds of languages that the real Kyle can't speak. So I think similarly, AI can be used in romance scams, unfortunately. And if you ask our fraud team, unfortunately, romance scams are still alive and well. So be very, very cautious. Don't give money to anyone who you haven't met in person. So they use the internet, right? And they're very convincing. So be very cautious about that. AI recruiter scams. I also had a recruiter come up to me and say that she basically will tell someone she's interviewing on video to maybe raise their right hand, because it's still really hard to write that into a script. But it's really hard for her to tell the authentic, human versus the likeness of that, or a deep fake version of that. So be very careful for that. And when you apply for a job, right, you have to give them all your information. You have to give them your social and your bank account because you want to get paid and all this. So be very, very cautious. Educate your family members as well about some of the AI recruiter scams that could be going out there. QR code redirects. I would be cautious of QR codes in email. If you go to a conference and someone's like, okay, here's a QR code to learn more about my company, I would probably trust that. But we've had folks, record keepers in general, pretending to be us in an email and saying like a DocuSign, right? Here's a QR code, scan this. But what happens then, it circumvents the authentic website and it can take you to a bad actor's website. So be cautious of QR codes, especially in email. And if you ever get asked for a gift card, that's not coming from your CEO, be very cautious there too. CEOs should not be asking for gift cards. And then security tips, we're going to pivot on. So those are some of the scary things that are going on in the world that I want you to arm you with the security tips, ways that we can make cybersecurity more of a superpower. for us. So identity theft, almost a third of Americans have been the victim. So how do we protect ourselves from that? Basically using different and strong passwords for each account, especially your financial, your email, your cell phone accounts, as I've said. So the number one investment, business email compromise. 3 is tech support. 4 is personal data compromise. Your email is the number one way that a bad actor finds out more about you as an identity, who you work with, who you bank with, who your 401ks with. Guard your email. Investment scams, right? People pretend to be registered advisors because registered advisors, unfortunately, they have their information and it's public. You can look it up. So people pretend to be them and then create these elaborate schemes to get folks to invest. I would just keep with the known good folks that you know and trust, that your employer recommends. And so don't engage when offered these large returns. That's a red flag. If trust your gut. If you see any of these red flags, trust your gut, disengage, really do your research. Use multi-factor authentication on your email, use unique passwords, don't click on links, right? When in doubt, don't click on the link. You could report it as phish, and then your company can do the research there. Families behaving badly, unfortunately, that's what record keepers, what's what we call when like an ex-spouse, elder abuse beneficiary, when someone maybe thinks that they should be the rightful beneficiary. So don't allow your family or friends to use your devices. Maybe have 2 different vaults, as I mentioned. Don't share your credentials, freezing your credit, monitoring your accounts. All kinds of scams are out there. Government impersonation. We had folks calling into our call center, and we have technology that can identify if there's 2 callers on the line. And so we had one of our participants, an individual, call in, and we're like, okay, who's on the other line? And they're like, oh, that's the Social Security Administration. They told me not to tell you that they're on the other line. And we're like, that's not the Social Security Administration, right? Please hang up, call us back. That's a scammer. So they will use anything. They'll use the IRS tax season, anything in the news to try to take advantage of folks. Be very careful. Robocalls, I don't even answer if it's someone I don't recognize, right? If it's really important, they're going to leave the voice message and I can get back to them. If it doesn't pop up as a phone number I recognize, my parents are the worst. They always answer their phone. I'm like, stop answering your phone if you don't recognize. Yes, Mark.
Yeah, hey Trish. One thing that's very specific to residents of Georgia that's popped up recently this year, there is a Department of Driver Services scam. So if you get a speeding ticket, this happened to me back in April. Paid my speeding ticket fine, and then started getting text messages that my license was going to be revoked if I did not pay whatever additional fine was needed. Thankfully, I did. I was like, this doesn't feel right, and I'm gonna go Google this, and I found out on the Georgia DDS website. They're like, yeah, this is a scam. Watch out for it. So not entirely sure what's going on with all that, but residents of Georgia, that's one to be aware of for sure.
Do you have tolls in Georgia? Do you get those toll scams?
We don't have a ton of tolls in Georgia.
Okay. Oh yeah, there you go, Sherwood. Yeah, we get the toll scams. We have some newer roads out here that circumvent the city, and so yeah, we get toll scams all the time. Oh my gosh. And then weak passwords, we just talked about that, right? So you have to have longer passwords than 7 digits. Not registering your accounts. This is actually the number one thing the Department of Labor, who governs all of our working accounts, right? They say the number one thing you can do to protect your account is to register it. What do I mean by register? All I mean is going to like your Vanguard account, putting your username, your password, your beneficiary, your bank account, etc. Go claim that account, because if you don't do it, then it makes it so much easier for a bad actor to put their username and their password and try and put their bank account in and pretend to be you, but you might not get those security alerts if you haven't registered. So really important. There's reasons that people don't register. Maybe they're so far away from retirement. Maybe they don't have a big balance. Maybe they think it's safer not to log in, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Your account is already online. All our financial accounts are already online. Go claim all your financial accounts. Go claim your Social Security account as well. Really important, especially also with the 3 major credit bureaus. Go claim those accounts, because then you'll get alerts if anyone tries to change that information. So really important to register all your accounts. And
One quick question on that,
yeah.
Trish, as well. No senior citizens are often a target for this type of information. How would you encourage this group to, maybe with parents or anyone that's not in the working world, how would you encourage them to speak to their family members about this type of topic as well? I know the action items are still the same, but any thoughts on talking to them about it?
I would have your elderly or parents, right? I would mine are in the same bucket. It depends how old they get, but I would basically have them say, hey, every time you get I don't know, a security alert, um, it's hard because you want them to go to the known good source. Like go to like empower.com, go to vanguard.com, fidelity.com, go to the known good source, and look at that 800 number. Don't react in a text message, right? So we don't send links in our security alerts. We say go to the known good website, go to empower.com. We're seeing unusual activity on your account. We've locked it. So what we do is we automatically lock it if we see unusual activity, maybe withdrawals coming from multiple different IP addresses or things like that. If you trigger enough red flags, it's going to lock your account. If you're trying to log in from an IP address in Atlanta and China at the same time, it's going to lock your account. So I would just keep in touch. And I think that's an important thing to do, and tell them to always go to the known good source. Don't respond to inbound phone calls. Don't respond to inbound text message or emails, right? Try to have them be in the habit of going to the known good source. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely. That's, I think, an important thing to note. So I just want to show you here both. I'm not going to go through the 9 online security tips from the DOL, but they line really nicely with our 7. We both agree the number one thing we can do as individuals is to register our accounts. You would do this at Vanguard. And any of your other financial accounts, go claim your accounts, and then provide all emails and phone numbers. Some people think that's counterintuitive. They're like, oh, if I provide my financial institution all my emails and phone numbers, if they have a breach, then those are gone. But the thing is, it's really important just for those security alerts. And I would limit the amount of folks that you do business with, right? I do want to mention, if you do get a notice in the mail that someone has had a breach, and they offer credit monitoring services, and it's with a company you don't already have a relationship with, I wouldn't take them up on that offer for credit monitoring. Again, back to the fact that let's just say they offer you with, I don't know, LifeLock, right? And you don't already have an account with LifeLock. I wouldn't do it, because what you have to do with LifeLock, you have to give them all your personal identifiable information. But like the 3 credit bureaus, if they're offering, credit monitoring from one of the 3 credit bureaus, I would absolutely take them up on it, because they already have your information. So really important. I would just limit the amount of folks that have access to your personal identifiable information, and like your address, your social security number, right, your phone number, your full name, things like that. Okay, do we
Just
have any?
really quickly, Trish, we have a couple of questions about where do you keep saying where do you register your account? So
Mhm.
could you share a little bit of Mark light on where they actually get to register those accounts, please?
Perfect. Yes. So you register your account with that financial institution. So you all have your 401k with Vanguard today. So make sure you go to Vanguard and you go claim your account. So all I mean by register is putting your username, your password, your beneficiary if you want, your bank account if you want, but your username, password. Leave multi-factor authentication enabled for your retirement accounts. That extra 10 seconds that it takes for you to get into your account will absolutely help deter a bad actor to go away, maybe go, pick on someone else or get a better job. So really important to go register your account. Does that kind of clarify that? Just go claim it. If you have, I don't know, like E-Trade account, go claim it, right? Any financial institution.
Yeah, so
Uh,
completely agree with that, Trish. So when you go into any financial account, anywhere where you're holding money, go in when you log into that account, there's that, my profile section is usually up in the top right. Make sure those fields are filled out. So your personal email address, anything along those lines, but make sure there's no blanks in those sections. So that's when we're saying claim that account. Make sure that or Another example would be sometimes in a 401k plan, people get auto enrolled into it. So there's money going into those accounts, but they haven't necessarily gone in and created their actual, here's my password, not the default one, but here's my password, here's my login, here's my personal email, my beneficiary. So just fill out that about, my profile section within each of those accounts.
Right, because many employers will they want people to start saving for their retirement, so they just kind of sweep them in, but people don't actually go to that website to go put their own username and password. Hopefully that helps, Eric. So yeah, auto enroll. A lot of people have single sign on where you basically just go and put your username and password in for your employer, and then there's an app you can click in, but it's always just good to go. And we can typically provide employers a list of the people who have not registered their account, and we just help them put their username and password in. That's it. We're just asking you to go to the Known Good website, put your username and password in. So 3 on the right here, use a password manager. These are the Bitwarden 1Password Keeper. Again, cnet.com does a great write-up on these password managers. Bitwarden is the best free one that CNET says. And so use MFA, don't disable it. Paying attention to those security alerts is key. Always go to the Known Good site, and then freeze your credit for you and your family with the 3 major credit bureaus is also key. I think we're coming into the home stretch here. AI security tips as an organization, you can do the things on the left, and that's what things that Empower has done. On the right, I would say validate any transaction and go to a known good source, number 1. The other one I really like is number 4 on the right, disable that chat saving function. You just go to settings and you can disable the chat saving function. That way it's not going to be training its models on your specific data. So that's another one I really like there. So these are the top password managers, Bitwarden 1Password Keeper. They're not all created equal. Some of them are storing the secret on their servers, but these ones at the bottom don't do that. So if that company, unfortunately, if they have a breach, you don't have to reset your passwords because they're not storing that secret on their server. It's only on your devices. So a little bit FYI there. And these are the commercial password managers. I would recommend using these. If you only have Apple devices, maybe you can use that Apple. They came out with their password manager with their 18 version. Here's the link. Have I been pwned? You'll have access to this entire presentation. So there you go in the middle. So you can see if your email has been involved in a breach. There's some additional information here. Be vigilant about protecting scams. Really protect the elderly as well. And children, they're like a clean credit slate. So my son, when he was a teenager, was like, oh, what do they want from me? I've I don't have any assets. I was like, but you have clean credit, right? So someone could basically go try and take out money on your behalf, get a credit card, try and buy a car, something like that. Really important to freeze their credit as well. And then take action if you suspect unusual activity. I would go, Vanguard has their own 800 number. I would report if you have identity theft, please go to them, have them put additional protections in place. They can do like money out lock, and then notify all 3 major credit bureaus as well. Really important to do. Change all those passwords, email passwords, and add MFA as well if you suspect unusual activity in your accounts. So here are some of the key takeaways. Use secure passwords. Don't reuse them, please. Enable multi-factor authentication, register your account, keep your information up to date, always go to the legitimate source. So with that, I think that's it. That's all I have for my prepared comments. Any additional questions that we have in the chat? I think we're almost at time.
I don't see any more questions, but we will have about 5 more minutes at the end to see if anyone else has any additional questions. Thank you so much, Trish. Oh my gosh, just so many nuggets that we're so appreciative of that, so much so. But I have the distinct honor of introducing our own builder superstar, Mr. Keith Hefner. Woo! Clap it up, you guys, for Keith. He's going to talk to us today a little bit about how we are going to protect ourselves here at Builders. And with that, take it away, Keith.
Thank you, Bernice. I appreciate that. And I'm just going to cover a couple of slides of things specifically at Builders that we're doing. let that slide
Keep
come back
going.
up
I got
here.
to pull up the wrong. I pulled up
Okay.
the wrong slide, but keep going.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
I will first tell everybody if they go out and they look at their builder's email address to see if it's been breached, it has. We monitor that. Almost all of our emails are on the dark web, which is part of the reason why we require password changes and those type things. But we're committed to security. AI has really become a lot of the subject lately. So I want to kind of start there. Builders has a dedicated AI committee. They're meeting regularly to help the business decide how we're going to use, and we've been using AI in certain ways for years. We're really talking about the newer versions of AI, generative AI, where it can actually start taking actions on our behalf. Generative AI, where it can actually help us write our documents, write proposals, do things. So the AI committee is really made up of several members throughout the company that are going to be looking at those pieces and deciding which ones we want to do. At the same time, we're writing some instructions about how to safely use AI. That's going to be posted on the bridge relatively soon, the next few days. And in the background, we're also working on a lot of AI policies, governance policies, so that we make sure that we follow all of our rules as well as all of our industry rules and all the state, local regulations that we got to comply to when we think about AI. Another big piece that we do is continuous monitoring. As you all know, we use Leapfrog as our managed service provider, and they do 24/7 monitoring of our systems. They actually use a couple of different vendors to help them do monitoring and kind of percolate up any issues into their NOC, which is the Network Operations Center, or their SOC, their Security Operations Center. So it really, the two types of things that we're looking at when we monitor is everything working the way it should, and then the second on the SOC is everything secure? Are there any issues with security that we're determining that's out there? But the third component is the shared responsibility. Builders really is only as safe as all of their employees help us be there. It's just saying the emails, the scams, they come in regularly. If it looks odd, send it to the help desk. We'll help you determine if there's an issue. As Tris mentioned, no one on the senior team is ever going to ask you to go out and buy gift cards or any type of monetary type things like that. So if it comes through, and we are regularly seeing emails that say they're coming from our CEO, Todd Campbell, or they're coming from other members. But if you look at those emails, it has the name, but it doesn't have their builder's email address. It has some random email address. So we're really working hard to block those, but they're hard to block. Quite frankly, the emails are getting better. AI is helping these bad actors get better at writing emails that look more legitimate, but they still just don't feel right. So if anything you get comes in that doesn't feel right, send it to help desk. We'll certainly take a look at it and help you determine whether it should be replied to or just ignored to go through. Manish, if you can go to the next slide for me. So that brings us, as I said, the big piece is our role, your role, my role. Everybody's at it. So some of the things that we have is multi-factor authentication. Of course, we turn on all of our systems. We want those on. We use that to get into your VDI session. Once you're into that VDI session, we've monitored and we kind of control where you can go. But in your personal life, if you have the ability to use multi-factor, you should turn it on. Leave it turned on. Don't disable it. It is just an extra layer of going through. Always verify security requests. If you get any type of email that looks odd, I've said it before, just report it to the help desk. We're there. And then the one on the far right is probably the most important. Every so often somebody's going to click on something. Somebody's going to open something they didn't mean to. They realize that, and it's just critical that you report it quickly. Uh, you know, Mistakes happen. We know they're going to happen. But what we don't want to have happen is somebody's clicked on something, something has started, and we're waiting for our automated systems to detect it. We'd much rather have just a quick call to the help desk and say, "Hey, I got this link and I clicked on it. we can instantly isolate your system and determine if there's any issues or any problems that are going through. So Builders has a lot of security layers that we've put in place to try to make your time at work as secure as possible, our system secure, your personal information that Builders has secure, all of our policyholders, agents, all the other information, medical information that we have for our claimants for work comp. We try to keep that as all secure as possible. But at the end of the day, your help in us doing that is critical to really maintaining that security. Um, and you're going to get some emails. So we send out a regular series of emails. We call them test emails. Basically seeing if you'll click on something. You guys have been very, very good for the last a little over a year. I think it's been about a year since we've had somebody click on a test email that they should not have. So you're really paying attention to emails. That's probably the biggest way that we're concerned about people getting in and getting click the information. So we greatly appreciate everybody really paying attention to those emails and reporting them when they think there's a problem. And we're here to help. So if you see any concerns or if you've got any questions around security, let me know. That is now my full-time job, is to focus on Builders data security, information security, and I am certainly here to help anyone who's got any questions in that area. Renise, I think the last one's just kind of a wrap up. Yep. So that's kind of it for me, folks. Make sure if you've got any questions around security, let me know. If you've got any questions around AI and how Builders is going to use it, also let me know. And then if you just have general questions, I'm always available. I'm a resource for you, everyone here at Builders, to use, and feel free to reach out to me. Renise, I'll hand it back off to you to wrap up our Q&A.
Wow, what a wonderful listen and learn. Thank you so much, Keith. Thank you so much, Trish and Mark, for being here. I know Lindsay had to jump really quickly to leave, but listen, you guys, this is so very important. And, your engagement, your questions really made it a valuable conversation. And so, if one takeaway that I could, recommend or suggest for today is that we just stay aware, right? Take small daily steps that keep yourself, safe, but also, the Builders organization protected. And so I just want to encourage everyone, let's keep the momentum going. Go ahead and mark your calendars. We have an action-packed month of learning for you can plan for October. So go ahead and pinpoint October 13th. We'll have an entire week of opportunities for you to connect with us, learn and grow and build your career here at Builders. So it is our pleasure again to serve you guys today. Make it a great day. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everyone.